guys. Welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day because it's actually a beautiful day. It's a day where we talk about energy. And that is what actually makes me live my new life for. I'm addicted to life nowadays. And wouldn't it be nice if you could just sort of, I don't know, find a power charger for that battery that is in there and in your soul? Wouldn't it be amazing if there's just some app that quickly supercharges you? Well, unfortunately, for those of you who want instant gratification, switch off this tape now. I'm sorry, no, wait until Elon Musk has done something weird. Until then, however, I've got the next best thing here on my show, and that is Rina Lang, because Rina actually has decided to learn more about how to supercharge yourself, how to get this energy, to get you going without actually maybe the help of certain white powders that you snort up your nose, or without the help of too much of the Java. So there might be other ways how we can all learn how to be better human beings with more energy and therefore achieve so much more. So Rina, I'm dead excited to have you on my show. Welcome to my show.
I'm happy 2 years. Thank you so much. What an introduction.
Well, you're the Energizer Bunny. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm actually literally dead excited. It might also be the coffee that I just had. No, I'm kidding. No, I am truly excited because here you are. You are a little bit further down the path than I am. Whilst I've got good habits in place, I can't wait to learn more and fine-tune my habits in order to see where we can go, because it's all continuous improvement. So, Rina, when did you ever started thinking about, wow, okay, I know how to focus on energy. I know how to focus on charging up the battery faster maybe than other people. How did it all come about?
So let me tell you a story. So basically, a few years ago, I was living in Singapore and I landed my dream job and I was really doing great. I did all the right things. I achieved all the right things. And then my mind and my brain started breaking down. What I realized is that I basically fried my brain several times in my life to get to all that success that I was aspiring so much. And eventually, when I actually got all the goals that I ever wanted to achieve professionally, I realized that my mind was not there to support me anymore. I would go into client meetings and I would actually record conversations on my phone because I could not remember anymore what was discussed. And so I would listen to those conversations afterward. But basically, there were a number of things happening with me. I was procrastinating a lot. It would require me to drink coffee for an hour before I was ready to open my very first email. I was so exhausted, drained all the time. I'm an introvert as well. So for me, like being constantly depleted by people around me was a reality. And often I would binge watch shows over the weekend. I would not be even able to get out of bed. I was so drained, so tired. And it went on for several years. And so those of you who are listening to this podcast and are thinking, okay, I'll start worrying about my mind, my brain, my health overall when it starts breaking down in my 50s, because it's kind of like a given. Once you get to that age, this is where things are not going to go as before. But right now I'm still fine and I can get by with alerts and post-it notes. My mind started breaking down in my early 30s. So that's why I didn't have a choice. I knew if I ever wanted to land another job, I had to do something now and fast. But the whole time, my mind and my brain just felt like they were in a fishbowl all the time. So I had like bad brain fog. People would talk to me and I would be not comprehending clearly what they were saying to me. And probably this is a reality for a lot of people. And just to kind of like, how did I even get started on this? I had insomnia for like three weeks. And insomnia on and off was a big issue with me. My mind was just not able to wind down and give me the sleep that I need. And so I was just dragging my feet through the day and trying to survive until the weekend. But then one thing that I decided to do is actually to start meditating, because I've heard there is this magic thing, meditation, whatever the hell that is, and that this might help. I was desperate at such a point. I didn't have anything to do with spirituality or New Age until then. I was like such a fact-driven person, and this was a bit too woo for me. But I was desperate enough to try something else, and it changed my life completely, because ever since I began meditating, I started feeling energies in my hands vibrating, and I started asking around who else has this superpower issue coming up. I thought everybody who meditated had that, but it turned out nobody I was talking to had that side effect, that this kind of like energy vibrating and feeling it. And that is why when I embarked on healing my mind and brain, this is the route that I chose, because I felt just energetically, I started feeling more and more, and I was beginning to feel that something is off. So let me figure out, what is this energy? Is there any energy healing modality that I can learn? Is there anything else I can do to help myself? And actually, I ended up leaving, and I ended up taking a gap year of 1 year, where I went to Nepal, and I was meditating for a month in Buddhist temples to learn whatever mind gymnastics Buddhists do, because I thought these guys must have figured out something in those 2,500 years. And then I went to yoga schools in India, and I traveled all over the world, and just kind of like experimenting on myself and seeing what it was doing to me energetically. Fast forward, now I feel like I'm smarter than I ever was. And that's one of the myths that I would like to debunk when it comes to that. Don't settle for that belief that, our intelligence just kind of like increases throughout our childhood, teenage years, 20s, then it kind of like plateaus in the 20s, 30s, and then sometime in the 40s, if you're lucky, maybe 50s, it starts deteriorating. This is the myth that I want to debunk. There is so much you can do, and it starts within, of course. It's your own laboratory. There is no magic pill. There's nothing that's out there that's going to fix your brain, your mind. And even though like accessing altered states, accessing higher levels of abilities of consciousness is the next thing that everybody's trying to do, trying to hack. So, which means it's not something that is done to you or somebody else can do it. Just by actually better understanding your energies, you can start manipulating those energies in your favor. Right now, most of you, if you're struggling mentally, your brain is not up to the mark, you keep forgetting things, chances are the energies that are within are working against you. So how can you turn it all around? That's what I'm all about.
Beautiful. I had a guest here who is a dementia prevention specialist, and the title of her show was "Dementia is a Choice." And I thought, what the hell? What the hell is that about? And essentially, we are talking exactly about the same thing. We are taking it somehow for granted that our life has to deteriorate at some stage. And that is absolute bullshit. It is, I certainly, with my drinking and with my past of burnout, because that's what you're describing here. You're this kind of introvert trying to achieve as much as possible, climbing the ladder, 16-hour days and continuously for how long did you do that? I mean, how long did you live that life of boom and bust, of exhaustion?
It starts at school pretty much. So, but it went on for about 20 years for sure.
Exactly. And no surprise with 20 years. I mean, that leaves scars. Of course, it drains you. There is this emotional bank account. You can't always take out of the bank account. You also have to give in. So it is, was it not Abraham Lincoln who was asked, if you had 8 hours to fell that tree, how would you do it? And he said, I would spend 6 hours sharpening the saw. Well, those kind of things are not really taught to us. For us, in certainly the way I was brought up, it's work. What do you mean? You're daydreaming. How dare you? So that moment of rest, where you actually give yourself a few moments to actually reset up there, that was never encouraged. Was it encouraged in your life, early life?
For sure not. That's the thing. What we understand under intelligence needs to evolve. Intelligence are three things. It's instinct, intellect, and intuition. Instinct is the wisdom and intelligence of the body. That's why in martial arts, instinct is a big thing. Sportsmen and women make a lot of money on that type of intelligence. It's the ability of your physical body to react faster than anybody else. It's a type of intelligence that a lot of money can be made on. Now, most people understand under intelligence like this Einstein kind of like idea that is some scientists in a laboratory, but they are basically using the learned facts knowledge and concrete mind to solve problems. But even then, when you actually read biographies of geniuses, what they do, they're actually constantly going back and forth between an altered state and the state of consciousness. And they in the altered state, which is the intuition, is where they bring in insights. This is the visual part. This is the part of pure knowing. You just see something and then you bring it into your conscious awareness. And that's why a lot of breakthroughs actually are happening in those early morning hours when you just wake up, when your mind is still kind of like in the twilight zone. This is where a lot of groundbreaking ideas can happen. And very, very, very incredible genius people, they often see things like they see music as energy, as visions. And that's the type of energy, the type of intelligence that is way superior than the instinct and intellect. It's an intelligence of pure knowing. There is no more thinking required. In fact, Buddhists insist that true thinking happens in an empty mind. So what do they know that we don't know? Definitely, I'm getting to now in my practice through all the techniques that I picked up. I'm getting to a space where I think less and less and less, but groundbreaking thinking is actually happening because ideas are able to come through. Most people's minds, it's like being in a room packed with 100 people shouting at you all the time. How are you ever to pick up on your intuition, which is like that one person standing on the other side of the room trying to give you that $1 million idea, that groundbreaking thought that's going to be your golden ticket? What are your chances of actually hearing that idea correctly? Recognizing it as a $1 ticket. It's impossible if you have 100 people shouting at you all the time. Cleaning up your mind is the key. If you're still thinking, I need to learn more facts so that I can win, what do you call it, those shows on TV, where they ask for facts and whatnot, and words, and, if you think more facts is what you need to become smarter. The smartest people on this planet that know all the facts still end up with broken minds and Alzheimer's. So that's not the way. There has to be something else. That is why I highly recommend to anyone who is interested in this topic, read a book called Stealing Fire. I read this book about 1.5, 2 years ago, and it opened my eyes that the game has changed. We are still using the brain from the last century, from the 20th century, to cope with the challenges of this century. This century requires a completely different brain. That's why kids, 5 years old, without the ability to read, they still can use better your phone than you can. Why? It's because they approach it with a flexible, empty mind. But we are so conditioned, so structured, and our mind is still stuck in the last century before internet. And, just installing an app or using a new program on your computer, for many, it's so intuitive, so logical. Your XUI design is so simple these days. Still, people struggle to find the right buttons. How is that possible? Whereas the kids are able to do it without reading because it's intuitive. That's the thing, our minds, brains calcify. Energy calcifies, thought forms calcify. That's why the world doesn't change because people change. It changes because people die. The older we get, the more inflexible we become. That's why there is so much conflict on this planet, because people are so stuck in their opinions, ideas, which were entrenched in them in their first 7 years of their life. But now they're in their 70s and they're still running the show from that space. These are the good guys. These are the bad guys. This is my opinion. I'm going to fight for it. People with a flexible mind, they're able to see that truth is a diamond. You can see many, many, many perspectives of the same truth, reconcile it, and distill the gist of it without offending anybody, and still understanding that everybody is right from their point of view. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is flexible. Everything is changing all the time. That is why if you want to remain relevant in the 21st century, things are not going to get better. We're never going to go back to 2 years ago before COVID. Never. Never give up that idea. Embrace change. The only things that are true in this world is that you exist and that the change exists. And you need to wrap up your mind around that change. But it's hard doing that if you are full of calcified ideas. And that's one thing that I set out to do first. I could feel that I was conditioned in so many ways to think in so many different ways, but it's not my thinking. Very, very few people on this planet actually think. They think, but they don't. It's just some sort of an emotion, past, future, fears, regrets, whatever it is, anger. And there is a little bit of thought smeared on top of it. There is no unique, groundbreaking thought in most people's lives ever. If they have one idea in their whole life, that's like a highlight. You're probably already the top 5% of thinkers on the planet. Most people, it's just emotions, anger, resentment, and that's what they talk all day long about their little lives and their little problems, but it's just emotion. You have to transcend that. Very few people think. We surrendered our thinking to the priests, to the politicians, to the teachers, to the parents, to anybody and everybody who we think can think better than us. But guess what? If you surrender your thinking to somebody else, I guarantee you they'll make decisions not in your favor. I guarantee you. Nobody ever is going to stand up for you as well as you will stand up for yourself. And learning to think is a difficult task in the beginning. Breaking free in the beginning, breaking free from conditionings, even seeing that you've been conditioned, it's a hard work. And it requires going within and looking within what's inside. In the beginning, you will perceive that there is nothing interesting inside. Nothing interesting is happening in your mind. It's just complain, my father, my ex-girlfriend, my ex-boyfriend, money, food, whatever, simple little things of life. But then actually, as you start cleaning up that clutter more and more and more, the real reasons behind your thinking start emerging. And you will need to clear out all those dead bodies in your mind first. All the things you swept under the carpet, you need to pull them out, drag them out by the hair, so to say. I don't want you to go away with the idea that I'm trash talking emotions, that this is a bad thing. No, they are actually your friends. They're there to tell you that something happened in your timeline where your boundaries were transpassed. Somehow you were hurt, or you hurt somebody. Somehow something happened to you that did not resonate with you. It wasn't right. But because you didn't give it that place and space to tell you their story, to tell you, you're angry not because somebody cut you on the road. You're actually angry because you're lonely or something like that, whatever it is. Start digging deeper. Once that emotion gets the chance to actually tell you their story and why it cares so much for you that it keeps just swimming in your pond, keeps trying to catch your attention, that monkey mind is just all those unresolved things. That's why I highly advise that you implement some sort of a journaling in your life. That's the best way of cleaning up your mind that you can possibly find.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I love it because you are rephrasing many things, many insights that I've had in my life. You're rephrasing them in a much more eloquent language than I can. But ultimately, what you're describing there is the principle of step 4 in the AA system, where you do a deep, full inventory of what the hell is going on up there. And it is that you actually take your resentment and break it down and say, okay, what actually happened? This organization did that. That's how it made me feel. Arr. And so you keep going a list like that. The problem, of course, is if you are just making such a list, well, that's a pity party. But if you then actually add then the column of, well, what was my input in that? Did I play a role there? Which role was that? Was I really the victim, or maybe did I contribute to that? So suddenly it becomes far more interesting. And that's just resentment. Now we do the same with anger, with other things. So if you actually start working through it, it's the most beautiful journey you could possibly do, because suddenly it is no longer as black and white. And suddenly you actually have little breakthroughs here and there. And what you're saying, the power of journaling, to actually write things down and suddenly see them coming out of your pen or onto your keyboard. And by the way, I normally say the pen is mightier than the sword. Quite literally it is. I think there are different areas in the brain being challenged and being brought out to play when you write something by hand than compared when you type something. There are some beautiful, beautiful gems coming out onto paper, and you think, as if someone else is writing it, and you read, what the hell? And it's such a beautiful, beautiful journey. I see you nodding there, and that's right. It's an amazing experience, isn't it?
And not just that. So writing, it's very, very healing, and you will realize you're the most interesting book you will ever read. There is nobody like you. You are amazing. You are incredibly amazing. And once you start writing things out, answers will come every single day. Journaling, it's not about describing your day. It's about describing that emotion, whatever strong emotions was there. I've been journaling now for the last 2 years. And for the first 6 months, I was definitely just ranting on the pages. The sky is too blue, the sun is too round, and things like that. And that's what you might just gonna do, just rant and rant and rant. But then after a while, once you get all that annoying buzzing thing out of the way, that's when the real story will start emerging, the story of who you are. Insights will flow, understanding will flow as you write it out. You yourself will give answers to your questions, and there will be a lot of aha moments. Another thing that I actually realized as another beautiful side effect, it actually organizes your mind. The mind is, like I was saying, is a room filled with clothes. Let's say it's a pile of clothes and nothing is organized. By writing it, you literally pick up every single little piece that is in your room, and you start deciding, is this something I'm going to keep? Is this beautiful enough to keep, or I'm going to throw it away or give it somebody back because it's not even mine? I picked it up from parents or whatever. You start cleaning it up, putting it all on its rightful shelves. I guarantee you it will improve your memory. Not so long recently, actually, I was watching this documentary about people who have incredible memories, photographic memories. Yes, of course, there's a portion of the brain that's slightly enlarged. But another side effect of having incredible memories is that those people are incredibly organized. Their houses, they're not OCD, but their houses are impeccable. Everything is on its rightful place. Many people think, I'll organize my place and that will organize my mind. No, actually, an organized place is a reflection of your mind. In an organized mind, it's so much easier for your brain to access the information that you need. Also, when you're trying to learn something, if there is no chaos, all that chaotic energy all around, buzzing around your mind, when you actually absorb information, there is peace and quiet, and it goes to the right place right away. When you need to withdraw and retrieve that information again, your brain is able to find that right information in the circuit. So that's a very, very beautiful side effect. This will help you organize your mind. And an organized mind, better memory will make you so much smarter. Yeah. You will see.
It's beautiful what you're describing there. And it's nearly a bit of a high. I remember as a student, I was learning in the middle of the night anatomy, and I had an old-fashioned desk lamp with sort of a shade that gave the light a direction. So it was this perfect circle. And in this circle was this book, and a drawing book, I think it was, where I just really wrote things and colored things. And then there was a cup of tea, peppermint tea. I remember that vividly. And it was close to midnight. The whole student home was quiet. And there was just me, that book, that cup of tea, and that cone of light. And it was the most beautiful, serene, calm feeling that came over me. A feeling of true satisfaction, of true, I'm in this moment. And it's there, I see it in front of my eyes perfectly. And that is exactly that, this kind of clarity that can come over you once you actually get all the shit out of the way and can focus on what is important. After all, that's also what many soldiers experience when they go into the battlefield. Suddenly, everything else falls away. Girlfriend trouble, mortgages, etc. It's the clarity of there and then, of forcing yourself to live in the moment. And that's powerful.
Yes. So definitely, if you read that book, Still in Fire, you will see that this is an area that also the military is very interested in. And this is what is happening also in the Silicon Valley. Everybody and anybody is interested in accessing those altered states. And when you are in an altered state, you basically are calibrating between your conscious mind and your altered state. This is where a lot of magic is happening. People learn languages in an altered state in 6 weeks rather than 6 months. So when you are actually operating from that altered state, there is no limit to your intelligence. You basically are opening a completely second level of your capabilities. Anybody who's a genius who walked this place, this planet, they all operated from that space. They were constantly accessing ideas, intuition, insights from elsewhere. Read biographies, you will see. And this is what's being more and more discovered. That's why we are entering a mind and brain hacking age. That's what's all about. If you want to remain relevant, there is no magic pill. No Elon Musk is going to invent anything anytime soon. He's still interested more in space than in saving people's minds. But who knows? But for now, don't waste time, because as we were discussing about Alzheimer, the Alzheimer is a choice. It definitely is, because it starts settling in 30 years before it's too late. So if you think you're going to wait until you're 60 and then you're going to do something about it, think again.
But then again, I want to say the past does not equal the future. Let's be very clear about that. Some people, because they might be now in their 50s, 60s when they're listening to that, and they might come from a history of addiction. They have abused their body for 30 years because they couldn't live with their emotions. They'd never learned how to deal with the negative emotions. So they were numbing themselves for 30, 40 years. Well, funnily enough, that is exactly what I did. Worked too hard, drank too hard, in a nutshell. And then I started to change. I started actually to pay attention to the details, to actually look after myself. So the amount of nutraceuticals and those substances that I knew I had depleted over 30 years, I started methodically to reinstitute. I made sure that I drink enough water. I made sure, etc. Hundreds of little things I put into place. Nowadays, the physical results of any scan or of anything that I do on my body do not show any damage. Where I would have thought, 2 years ago, for Christ's sake, I've got a strong history of heart disease in my family. And so I thought, oh God, I've got no symptoms, but with all the life that I've lived, let's look at the reality. So I did a specialized scan to look at my coronaries. Turns out they're like those of a baby. Now, by genetics and by my lifestyle, there should be under no circumstances should I have those coronaries, but I have. So the past does not equal the future. So exactly. You can...
Brain breaks and brain heals. Body breaks, body heals. It's a choice.
Correct. And you can undo damage that you've done in the past. So only because you lived a life that maybe was a bit more challenging, to say the least. That doesn't mean to say that you can't right now make a new decision. Right now, work with people who are maybe further down the path than you are, and actually get to it and actually start making changes. And I mean, you went to Nepal, you went into the monastery, and good on you, girl. Wow, that is really putting your money where your mouth is. Most of us.
I had no choice. I knew I'll never get another job until this is solved.
Beautiful. And that's so beautiful. You were at such a point so far outside of your comfort zone that you had to implement change. And suddenly you realized that it is not as painful as you thought doing that change. The world still kept turning, despite the fact that you had actually resigned from your position, that you went out there. And yes, the money was not flowing in droves, but you actually could focus on what is important. Now, wow, maybe if we were to look at the current challenges in the same way. The sheer fact that COVID might set you up that you can't work full-time anymore, or that you maybe even have lost your job. And yes, you could, of course, think, okay, poor me, poor me. Or you could say, wow, when was the last time that I had such a reset? When was the last time that I had such an opportunity to actually step off the hamster wheel and actually think, wow, who am I? More importantly, who do you want to be when you grow up? And it doesn't matter if you're 17 or 70, you have choices to make. And that's, Rina, that's what you are all about. You made choices and you followed them up with actions. And that is exactly how you got to the place where you are now. You didn't just say there, okay, you didn't stay on the couch and binge watched things. Now, sometimes, don't get me wrong, guys, sometimes there's a place for that. Sometimes you just need to binge watch NCIS or whatever floats your boat. Please, your mind needs to switch off too. So absolutely fine. But don't make that your life. Don't make that your life. I've been there. No. And I washed the NCIS down with wine and then read a self-help book with a glass of wine. No. So lots of talk, no walk. So you need to take action. And these action steps there.
Yeah, actually, the interesting thing about it is that the more you do that self-discovery, know thyself is the most important thing you can do in your life, and start doing it today. The more you get to know yourself, the more you look at what's inside of you, the more you will realize how amazing you are. You are amazing. You truly are. And there's nothing you need to do to be amazing. You were born amazing. If you think about the time when you held, a baby in your hands the last time, maybe your child, maybe your nephew, whoever that is, the baby is perfect and it's amazing. There is nothing that baby needs to do. But then we educate that baby to be perfect. Being perfect is just a watered down version of amazing. Yeah. And to be perfect, you need to do something. So there's this whole being versus doing thing. You need to do something to become perfect. And then somebody else will give the stamp of approval. Is this perfect, or is this barely good enough? Or is this not good enough at all? And all our lives, we are chasing that idea of we have to be perfect for somebody else. And we need to do something to get there. When you actually completely unsubscribe from that idea and go back to just being amazing, I screwed up. I'm amazing. I'm an alcoholic. Isn't that amazing? I'm the most badass alcoholic on this planet, and nobody is a better alcoholic than I. Isn't that amazing? Why not? But that's the thing.
Yeah. But what you're doing is you're readdressing your core beliefs. You are actually allowing yourself to completely deep dive into what is driving your emotions. Why are you triggered? Why are you constantly angry? You're going below okay, you're angry or not angry. You're going, actually, what makes that happen? What's going on deep down in your mind? And that, again, as you said earlier in the show, this is something that very, very few people do. Most people, they are just reactive. They're Pavlov dogs. Honestly, they don't do anything else than just react to the environment without actually taking control, without actually any conscious mind. They are just responding to whatever happens, either outside or inside, because they've just had that sugar cookie and they feel good. And 20 minutes later, they feel, because they have no insight what is actually happening.
It's because very few people actually think. It's very, very emotional. They think that's what government manipulates us, social media manipulates us, marketing manipulates us. It really has us in a death grip. And that is why, how do you get out of that's the kind of the conversation topic we discussed, how to get out of the prison of your mind. Actually, you're imprisoned by your emotions and everybody else who has much to win by manipulating your emotions. You've surrendered any power about what you do with your life, how you feel, to other people, to the social media, television, politicians, parents, whoever that is. You have basically no choice whatsoever about your life decision. That is why so many people actually, they are numbing themselves, because when you start looking at the lives you actually wanted to live when you were a child, when everything was possible, and the life you actually created for yourself, and now you're 15, you think it's too late. Yeah. First thing you want to do is start decluttering, freeing yourself up, because the enemy is already within. You cannot blame anybody else anymore, because the enemy is already within. Address the enemy within. This is what the true jihad in Islam is meant to be. Jihad is the enemy within that you're trying to resolve, not really combat. But again, it's not an enemy that has the worst, it's not an enemy that, it's an enemy that still wants to do the best it can for you, right? The best it knows how to do it, but you can choose whether you follow that road or not, or whether you're going to start making healthier and better choices. The beginning is difficult. It's scary to open that very first closet door. It's scary to look at that very first skeleton. That's why we swish them under the carpet, because they feel so scary. But actually, once you actually look at that elephant, you realize it's just a mouse.
Uh-huh. So true.
Whatever it is, you probably suffered more in your life by not looking at that thing than those 5 minutes that you spent actually looking at it and giving it that place and space to tell you its story.
100%.
By cleaning yourself up, just by cleaning yourself up, that's the first step. Second step, you get your mind organized. And the third step I highly advise is go back to your passions. Go back to what sets you on fire. All those guilty pleasures, all those guilty little things you like doing behind closed doors, and that remind you of your childhood. Go back to your childhood. Do all those little silly things. And that's the gateway to creativity and journaling. That's why this journaling thing, I picked it up actually from a book called The Artist's Way. It's a book that helps people get out of their writer's block. People who are blocked, and a lot of us, we are blocked in our lives in many, many levels. To free yourself up again, which is the creativity start flowing again. You start digging up all those little things you liked doing 30 years ago. By recovering all those passions, all those little joys. And that's why, again, kind of like going back to the morning. The morning is the best time to do that, because that's when you are in that twilight zone. You're between your altered state and the conscious state. Not so much going on yet in your mind. The mind is relatively peaceful. How are you wasting your best energy, best time of the day on doing chores, on doing the things that don't add value in any way? We don't have control over what's happening to us in the evenings, but we have control over what's happening to us in the mornings. If you have to get up half an hour early, ideally 1 hour earlier, to do that, what you're passionate about, be painting, be just playing with toys, whatever ridiculous thing you want to do, so long that it revives that child in you again. That part of you that was curious, that was excited, that was seeing the world full of possibilities. Do that. In my case, I write a children's book. If I can fit 1 hour of children's book writing each of my day, all these ideas that were flowing for the book, they'll keep flowing throughout the day, and I'll still have amazing ideas for my business, because I'm already in that space when I'm constantly tapping into that altered state. It will benefit you throughout the day in other areas of your life. Reclaim your mornings.
Wow. Rina Lang, where have you been all my life? That's all I can say. You made me think a lot today. Wow. So if my listeners and viewers are like me a bit, what happened just right now, where can they find you?
Yes, so definitely you can find me on social media, but I also just recently finalized my little ebook on this topic, where I talk about energy insights and teach all kinds of different tools and techniques. Grab your copy at rinalang.com/ebook. Very easy. Then also you can find me on LinkedIn, Rina Lang. Also on YouTube, I actually host every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time in my private group, Facebook group, which is called Mind and Brain Power Upgrade. Facebook group, join it. And I go live there every Friday as well, where I talk about these topics and I share tools, techniques, whatever it is. I'm a coach. I coach around this. I also have group coaching programs where I teach a lot of the things that I picked up over the years, and that I believe once you start integrating those little things into your daily living, it will really help you take your mind, your brain to the next level, and it will help you remain relevant, because that's the true pandemic that we're going through. It's how to remain relevant at an age where you're most wise. When you made all those mistakes, when you're wise, when you're intelligent, when you have the wealth of experience, and you can actually finally start contributing to it. So many people who retire in their 60s, they feel like, now finally I can do whatever I wanted to do. I have the money, I can follow my passions, but then their minds and brains break down and all that wealth just get wiped out. It's like having your entire hard drive, everything you've collected your entire life just wiped.
Correct.
And they become irrelevant. And that is, I think, my biggest fear. I don't know if it's yours, but it's definitely mine. To have all these experiences accumulating every single day, doing all that work, juggling, and then by the time I'm 60, dropping the ball.
That's exactly it. Yeah. No, that's one of the fears. I'm afraid of mortality. I'm afraid of losing it all, but I'm afraid because I've only now come to realize what a beautiful life I have the privilege to live, and how much I can change my life. And therefore, I'm now in a pilot seat. I'm no longer in a passenger who doesn't know where he's traveling. No, I'm taking the controls. And therefore, I'm actually addicted to living a better life, a life that prolongs this state of excitation, of beautiful energy. And so, no, I'm in the same boat as you, and it's absolutely amazing. Rina, you're a force of nature. I had the sense that this might be actually happening today. I'm gobsmacked that it actually has occurred, and how much I enjoyed this interview. You're an amazing woman. Thank you for what you're doing out there. No two ways around. You're changing lives. So guys, if you want to know anything about Rina, down there, look into the description of the YouTube channel and of the podcast. There are all her details are in there. And please, whilst you're down there, press the subscribe button, press the like button, and just tell your friends that we're having some fantastic discussions on this channel and in this podcast, because your life is worth it. You can change your life so much. And Rina is one of these voices that might just give you some ideas where you think, okay, that's a new approach. What have you got to lose? Rina, you're a gorgeous woman.
Do never, ever give up on your mind and brain. Do never, ever give up.
Absolutely. Rina Lang, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. You absolutely humbled me, and you make me think. And that's the best outcome that I can wish for of an interview.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. And you guys out there, I believe in you. Stay strong and look after yourself. Bye.
Bye.